Shalom. This is the Bible in a Year Live Tanakh Project, and today is day 5 of week 37, and we'll continue reading First Chronicles. Today, chapters 9 to 11 from the Names of God Bible. My name is Shane. Let's dive into today's reading. The people who lived in Jerusalem, First Chronicles chapter 9. All Israel was recorded in the genealogies in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. The Israelites were taken away to Babylon as captives because they had sinned. The first to settle again on their property in their own cities were some Israelites, the priests, the Levites, and the temple servants. Jerusalem was settled by descendants of Judah, Benjamin, Ephraim, and Manasseh. From the descendants of Perez, son of Judah, was Uttai, who was the son of Ammihud, grandson of Omri, and great-grandson of Imri. Imri's father was Bani. From the descendants of Shelah were Asaiah, the firstborn, and his sons. And from the descendants of Zerah were Jeuel and their relatives, 690 in all. From the descendants of Benjamin were Salu, son of Meshulam, grandson of Hodaviah, and great-grandson of Hasenuah. Ibniah, son of Jeroham, Elah, son of Uzi, and grandson of Mikri, and Meshulam, son of Shephatiah, grandson of Reuel, and great-grandson of Ibniah, and their relatives, according to their ancestry. All of these men were heads of their families. A total of 956 of them lived in Jerusalem. From the priests were Jedaiah, Jehoiarib, Jachin, and Azariah. Azariah was the son of Hilkiah, grandson of Meshulam, and great-grandson of Zadok. Zadok's father was Meraioth, the son of Ahitub, the official in charge of Elohim's temple. Also from the priests were Adaiah, son of Jehoram, son of Pashur, and great-grandson of Malchiah, and Masai, son of Adiel, grandson of Jahzerah, and great-grandson of Meshulam, whose father was Meshilemeth, son of Immer. Their relatives, who were heads of their families, totaled 1,760 soldiers. They served in Elohim's temple and settled in Jerusalem. From the Levites descended from Merari were Shemaiah, son of Hashub, grandson of Azrikam, and great-grandson of Hashabiah, Bakbakar, Peresh, Galal, Mattaniah, son of Micah, grandson of Zikri, and great-grandson of Asaph, Obadiah, son of Shemaiah, grandson of Galal, and great-grandson of Jeduthun, and Berechiah, son of Asa, and grandson of Elkanah, who lived in the villages belonging to the Netophathites. The gatekeepers were Shallum, Akub, Talmon, Ahiman, and their relatives. Shallum was in charge. Formerly, they were stationed at the king's gate on the east side. They were the gatekeepers for the Levite quarters. Shallum, son of Kor, grandson of Ebiasaph, great-grandson of Korah, and the members of his family, Korah's descendants, were responsible for serving as watchmen at the entrances of the temple, as their ancestors had been in charge of guarding the entrances to Yahweh's camp. Phinehas, Eleazar's sons, had been the officials in charge of the gatekeepers, and Yahweh was with him. Zechariah, son of Meshilemiah, was the keeper at the entrance to the tent of meeting. The men chosen to be gatekeepers at the entrances totaled 212. Their genealogies were recorded in their villages. David and the seer, Samuel appointed them to these positions because they were trustworthy. So they and their descendants were assigned to be gatekeepers for Yahweh's house, that is the tent. The gatekeepers were on the four sides, east, west, north, and south. Their relatives had to come from their villages from time to time. They would come to serve under the gatekeeper's supervision for a period of 7 days. The four chief Levite gatekeepers were in charge of the rooms and treasurers in Elohim's temple because of their faithfulness. They would spend the night stationed around Elohim's temple because they had to guard it and open it every morning. Some of them were in charge of the utensils for worship. They would count them when they brought them in and when they took them out. Other descendants of Korah were placed in charge of the utensils, the holy utensils, the flour, wine, olive oil, incense, and spices. Some of the priests' sons prepared the mixture of spices. Mattithiah, a Levite, the firstborn son of Shallum, Korah's descendant, was entrusted with preparing the flatbread. Some of their Kohathite relatives were responsible for setting the bread out in rows every day of worship. These were the musicians who were the heads of the Levite families. They lived in rooms in the temple and were free from other duties because they were on duty day and night. They were the heads of the Levite families according to their ancestry. These head Levites lived in Jerusalem. Saul's descendants. Jael, who first settled Gibeon, lived in Gibeon, and his wife's name was Maacah. His firstborn son was Abdon, then Zur, Kish, Baal, Nadab, Gedor, Ahio, Zechariah, and Mikloth. Mikloth was the father of Shimeam. They lived next to their relatives in Jerusalem. Ner was the father of Kish. Kish was the father of Saul. Saul was the father of Jonathan, Malchishua, Abinadab, and Eshbaal. Jonathan's son was Meribbaal, and Meribbal's son was the father of Micah. Micah's sons were Pithon, Melech, and Tariah. Ahaz was the father of Jarah. Jarah was the father of Alimeth, Azmaveth, and Zimri. Zimri was the father of Moza. Moza was the father of Beniah. Beniah's son was Rephaiah. Rephaiah's son was Eleazar. Eliah's son was Azel. Azel had 6 sons. Their names were Azrikam, Bokeru, Ishmael, Sheariah, Obadiah, and Hanan. All of these men were Azel's sons. Chapter 10. The death of Saul. When the Philistines fought against Israel, the men of Israel fled from the Philistines and were killed in battle on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines caught up to Saul and his sons. They killed Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua, Saul's sons. The heaviest fighting was against Saul. When the archers got him in their range, he was wounded by them. Saul told his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword, stab me, or these godless men will come and make fun of me." But his armor-bearer refused because he was terrified. So Saul took the sword and fell on it. And when the armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he also fell on the sword and died. So Saul, his 3 sons, and his dynasty died together. All of the people of Israel in the valley saw that their army had fled, and that Saul and his sons were dead. They abandoned their cities, so the Philistines came to live in these cities. The next day, when the Philistines came to strip the dead, they found Saul and his sons lying on Mount Gilboa. They stripped him and took his head and his armor. Then they sent men throughout Philistine territory to tell their idols and the people this good news. They put his armor in the temple of their gods and fastened his head to the temple of Dagon. When all the people of Jabesh Gilead heard about everything the Philistines had done to Saul, all the fighting men came and took away the dead bodies of Saul and his sons and brought them to Jabesh. They buried the bones under the oak tree in Jabesh. Then they fasted 7 days. So Saul died because of his unfaithfulness to Yahweh. He did not obey the word of Yahweh. He asked a medium to request information from a dead person. He didn't request information from Yahweh. So Yahweh killed him and turned the kingship over to David, Jesse's son. Chapter 11. David anointed king of Israel. All Israel gathered around David at Hebron. "We are your own flesh and blood," they said. "Even in the past when Saul ruled, you were the one who led Israel in its campaigns to war. Yahweh, your Elohim, has said to you, 'You will be shepherd of my people Israel, the leader of my people Israel.'" All the leaders of Israel had come to Hebron. David made an agreement with them at Hebron in front of Yahweh. So they anointed David king of Israel, as Yahweh had spoken through Samuel. David captures Jerusalem. David and all Israel went to Jerusalem, that is Jebus. The Jebusites were living in that region. They told David, "You'll never get in here." But David captured the fortress Zion, that is the city of David. Now David said, "Whoever is the first to kill a Jebusite will be made general and prince." Zeruiah's son Joab was the first to go into Jerusalem, so he became the general. David lived in the fortress, so it was called the city of David. He built the city of Jerusalem around it, starting from the Milo and making a complete circuit. Joab rebuilt the rest of the city. David continued to grow more powerful because Yahweh Sabaoth was with him. David's 3 fighting men. Now these were the commanders of David's fighting men, who exercised the power with him in his kingdom, and with all Israel they made him king according to Yahweh's word to Israel. The first of David's fighting men was Jeshobeam, son of Hakmon, the leader of the 3. He used a spear to kill 300 men on one occasion. Next in rank to him was Eleazar, another one of the 3 fighting men. He was the son of Dodo, the grandson of Aho. Eleazar was with David at Pasdamimim when the Philistines gathered there for battle. There was a field of ripe barley. When the troops fled from the Philistines, they stood in the middle of the field and defended it by killing Philistines. So Yahweh saved them with an impressive victory. Once, 3 of the 30 leading men went down to David's rock at the cave of Adullam when the army of the Philistines was camping in the valley of Rephaim. While David was in the fortified camp, Philistine troops were in Bethlehem. David was thirsty and said, "I wish I could have a drink of water from the cistern at the city gate of Bethlehem." So the 3 burst into the Philistine camp and drew water from the cistern. They brought it to David, but he refused to drink it. He poured it out as an offering to Yahweh and said, "It is unthinkable that I should do this, Elohim. Should I drink the blood of these men who risked their lives? They had to risk their lives to get this water." So he refused to drink it. These are the things which the 3 fighting men did. David's 30 fighting men. Joab's brother Abishai was a leader of the 30. He used his spear to kill 300 men, but he was not one of the 3, although he was honored more than they were. So he became their captain, but didn't become a member of the 3. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was from Kabzeel and was a brave man who did many things. He killed 2 distinguished soldiers from Moab. He also went into a cistern and killed a lion on the day it snowed. He killed an 80-foot tall Egyptian. The Egyptian had a spear like a weaver's beam in his hand, but Benaiah went to him with a club, grabbed the spear away from him, and killed him with it. These are the things that Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, did. He was as famous as the 3 fighting men. He was honored more than the 30, but he was not a member of the 3. David put him in charge of his bodyguard. The distinguished fighting men were Joab's brother Asahel, Elhanan, son of Dodo, from Bethlehem, Shamoth from Harod, Helez the Pelonite, Ira, son of Ikish, from Tekoa, Abiezer from Anathoth, Sibbachai, son of Hushai, Eli, descendant of Ahoah, Mahari from Netophath, Heled, son of Bana, from Netophah, Ithai, son of Ribai, from Gibeah in Benjamin, Benaiah from Pirathon, Hurai from the Gahash ravines, Abiel from Beth Arabah, Azmaveth from Bahurim, Eliahaba from Shalbon, Beneheshem from Gizon, Jonathan, son of Shag the Hararite, Ahiam, son of Shakar the Hararite, Eliphal, son of Ur, Hefer the Mecharathite, Ahijah the Pelonite, Hezro from Carmel, Nari, son of Ezbai, Joel, son of Nathan, Mibhar, son of Hagri, Zelek from Ammon, Naharai from Beroth, armor-bearer for Zeruiah's son Joab, Ira, descendant of Ithra, Jereb, descendant of Ithra, Uriah the Hittite, Zabad, son of Ahlai, Adina, son of Shiza, from the tribe of Reuben, who was leader of the tribe of Reuben and had his own group of 30 soldiers, Hanan, son of Maacah, and Joshaphat the Mithnite, Uzziah from Eshtaroth, Shammah and Jeiel son of Hatham from Aroer, Jediael son of Shemer, and his brother Joha the Tizite, Elielel the Mahavite, Jeremiah and Joshaviah son of Elnaam, Ithmai from Moab, Eliel, Obed, and Jasiel the Mesobite.